Hi scientists, it's Kennedy, and we're here at the Elkhart Visitor Center to learn more about their quilt gardens. Let's see how they're using different colors to make unique patterns like you did in your lab. Let's go investigate. Hello scientists, today I'm here with John Hunsberger, the Executive Director of the Elkhart County Visitors Bureau. John, can you tell me a little bit more about what you do here?
Yes, we welcome visitors from all over the U.S. to Elkhart County, and we communicate, tell them all about the wonderful experiences they can have here.
Could you tell me a little more about your quilt gardens and how they started?
Sure. Quilt gardens are actually gardens that are made out of flowers, but they're planted in the form of quilt patterns. And so those are actually throughout Elkhart County in 6 of our communities, and they're planted by volunteers. The patterns are actually decided on by each community. So it's really interesting to see what they come up with as far as an idea for the quilt patterns.
Do you have a map of these gardens, or is there a place that you can find out where they are located?
Yes, we love maps. So we have a map of the quilt gardens. You can come to the visitor center and you can get a paper map, or you can go to quiltgardens.com and you can look at the map online and you can download it, and then you can explore where all of the quilt gardens are throughout Elkhart County. And
John, how much does it cost to visit these quilt gardens?
Well, it's a low price. It's free, absolutely free for all visitors and residents. The maps themselves, when you come in, we will give them to you. We'll explain what's going on and where to go and how to really get around Elkhart County to explore and enjoy that.
Each year the quilt gardens are a specific theme. What's this year's theme?
Well, this year's theme is all about nature and animals. And so it's really interesting to see which communities picked what quilt patterns, and some of them are fun, and they may be a dog or dogs, and others may be a tree. And so it's really exciting to see just the variety of different types of quilt patterns that were selected.
Are there different plants in each garden?
There are different plants in each garden. So we actually work with a local university to understand actually which are the best plants to plant. So not all plants are the best for open sun or maybe have partial shade. So we try to understand which each location, what would be the best plants to plant and which will actually survive through the entire season.
And what else does the Elkhart Visitors Bureau offer?
So we have a lot of information here to understand what is happening in your community in Elkhart County. We also have relationships with the other counties around us. And so we try to give the understanding of all the experiences, not only in Elkhart County and each one of our communities, but also how our communities do work together to really share all of the experiences so they can understand our region a little bit better.
And what is something that you've learned from working here?
I've learned what a wonderful community that we have. Before coming to the Visitors Bureau and working, I used to live in Goshen, and I understood what was happening in Goshen, but now I get to work with all of our communities, not only the towns and the cities, but everyone living in Elkhart County. And it's just really exciting to see all the love that everyone has for their own community, but then each other's communities. So, I mean, that's the most exciting thing that I've learned, is that everyone here in Elkhart County really has a great sense of pride and love for their community.
Do you have any tips for scientists that are interested in the quilted gardens or just in gardening in general?
Sure. So at each one of our quilt sites, we give a description about the quilt garden, a little description about the plants that are planted there. If you want more information about that as a scientist, you can go to the website and find out even more about those plants, about maybe why we selected them for that area. And so you can kind of dig in to see, and then you can also discover that there may be other complementary plants that could have been planted there. So there's a lot of ways, if you're curious and you want to know more about it, you can kind of dig into it and learn more about it from quiltgardens.com and learn more about it.
Thank you, John, for teaching us about the quilt gardens. Now we're going to go talk to Mia, who's actually at one of the gardens. Today we're at one of the quilt gardens with Corrine Fry, who is a master gardener. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started at the quilt gardens?
Well, it started 15 years ago. It was an idea that the Convention Visitors Bureau had, and they wanted to bring visitors to Elkhart County. And what way to do it but to entice people to come when there's flowers. A lot of women like flowers. So that's how the garden itself started.
How many gardens are there?
This year we have 15. They're located all through the county. It would be in Elkhart, Napanee, Wakarusa, Goshen, Middlebury. All of those locations have gardens.
What is the process of planting a quilt garden like this one?
Well, it's not easy. First of all, you have to worry about weeds. So there's a weed controller, otherwise in the wintertime you put a weed blanket on there, or it would be rye or beets or something that would be added to it. Then you till it, and then you fertilize, and then you put weed killer on. And then you normally have about 10 people that actually do the planting. The planting takes anywhere from 5 to 8 hours.
Are those people volunteers or do they work?
No, they're all volunteers. So we have over 200 volunteers that take care of the gardens.
How many people does it take for the beginning process of creating the quilt gardens?
Well, that's a review group, and there are 8 of us. We come up with the patterns. You look for the pattern that you would like to do for this year, and then we figure out the square footage and also where you have paths, because otherwise how are you going to weed this if you don't have a path to get into it? And then figure out how many square feet and how many square feet of flowers you will need.
How do you pick the colors for your quilt garden?
That depends on the person that is using the pattern. It comes up with the flower first. If the flower is conducive to the area, because you have to worry about sun or shade, and then it comes back to the review group. We look at it and we say, yes, no, that's not a good one. And there have been problems when we've had bugs that have eaten things within the first 10, 15 days, and there's a problem possibly with the soil. So that mitigates whatever you have done otherwise. So we have to have replacements. So there may be a replacement done in August, because this actually goes through until September, until Labor Day. So something still has to be here when a visitor comes to Elkhart County.
What would you say would be the hardest part about this job?
I think weeding, because it's constant. The review group is also the inspector. So we come around and we look at the gardens every 2 weeks, and we check to see what's going on within the garden. We see if there's a problem with a flower, with the soil itself, and we contact the people. Then they have to do something about the process.
What would you say would be your favorite part about this job?
Probably just visiting, because it's great to visit 15 different locations and actually seeing some of the plants that have been chosen. Like, for instance, this is a potato plant, and if you would dig it up, which we certainly hope no one does, you will find small potatoes on the bottom. It's a potato vine, and they grow just like a potato, except you can't eat them.
That's interesting. My last question is, what advice would you give for the young scientists who are watching this?
I guess the very first thing I would say, get involved. We have kids that are 5 years old, up to 10 years old, that help with the quilt gardens. You may just even take them out of its container and then hand them to someone. We can also show them how to plant. Matter of fact, this garden a couple of years ago was done by kids that were between 10 and 15.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for meeting with us today and telling us about the quilt gardens.
Oh, you're very welcome.